We present to you Project Synapse by LattIQ. Our aim is to broaden the AA framework so users can leverage digital footprint from the wider ecosystem while maintaining full control over their data. Today, Account Aggregator has already become the world's largest open banking ecosystem, empowering Indians to prove their worth thanks to a few foundational principles. It enables data sharing between a variety of financial institutions, keeps the middlemen blind on the data, and ensures user records remain verifiable and machine readable in the process, all on the back of a granular user consent. AA already solves for multiple use cases across credit, insurance, and investments. We want to build on top of this framework to expand the digital footprint users can leverage while protecting user privacy. While data sharing is sufficient to cater to most use cases, it is not necessary. Minimization of data transfer not only protects users but also reduces the network footprint of AA as it scales exponentially. Today, as ML based decision making rises, AA's role goes beyond providing access to data. It has to contribute in understanding the data and drive adoption of explainable model frameworks. Another current limitation is the coverage of the FIP ecosystem when compared to the footprint Indians are leaving behind. Our proposed solution can generalize AA's interoperability beyond financial institutions to make it ubiquitous. We are proposing three fundamental changes to the AA framework to take a step forward following DEPA's vision of data empowerment and protection. First, we are moving the inference cycle upstream from FIUs to FIPs, keeping sensitive data secure at source, thus minimizing any undesired effects of uninformed consent to protect user privacy. This transforms AAs from a data sharing mechanism into a consented intelligence transfer framework, making sure data moves outside the FIP only if absolutely necessary. Second, we are enabling custom scoring models for the specific needs of an FIU, optimized to their user base's observed behavior. This helps FIUs go beyond standard rule-based checks into sophisticated ML models and embrace the AI revolution to come. This would help unlock new risk intelligence through the introduction of standard as well as custom ML models instead of asking for user data that would otherwise be locked in private silos due to privacy concerns. Third, we are broadening FIP horizons beyond financial data to include telcos, payments, e-commerce, and so on, irrespective of their data schema. This empowers both the users and FIUs to leverage non-traditional data signals that are too sensitive to share but carry valuable risk and personalization insights. These changes advance DEPA's core principles, truly empowering users while strengthening data protection. We see parallels of our proposal in global initiatives like GAIA-X, the Solid project, which promote the principles of federated learning and edge computing to maintain user control over their data. Leading AutoML frameworks have simplified training custom models on varied datasets and enabling interoperability of inferences beyond the data schema boundaries. Examples like FHIR, SGFindex, and SyncPass highlight how data unification, not centralization, can bear fruits for efficient digital infrastructure. We already have one of the most successful digital public infrastructure of the world, and we strongly believe that incorporating some of these principles would help unlock new paradigms. As per the current AI architecture, the user can give consent to share data, following which the FIP receives the request for the data and post consent checks and authentication from the user. Encrypted data packets are sent back to the FIU via blind consent managers. Your data belongs to you. That's why we are proposing these fundamental changes to put you in control. Instead of broadly consenting to share your data, you can now consent to query data and run assessments on top of it. By enabling federated assessments at the provider end, we are no longer restricted to FIPs that align to a common data schema. This expands the ecosystem to include telcos, consumer tech apps, healthcare providers, and government agencies. These FIPs don't transfer your data. They run assessments based on FIU parameters and share only those results. This newfound interoperability opens up a lot of use cases where FIP data is either in non-standardized formats or too sensitive to share. A few examples could be pushing financial inclusion deeper into the gig economy or lower income classes by leveraging the digital footprint for risk assessment, or enabling personalized and fair insurance pricing basis data from the healthcare ecosystem, or enriching alternate risk models based on location data from telcos or transactional data from payment aggregators, or even seamlessly connecting data from multiple government databases for faster verification of proofs like property, vehicle, or even corporate structures for business financing, or expanding the AA framework into a unique record of digital and financial footprint for over a billion digital consumers. The focus is to make sure we include more citizens while keeping the user experience as simple as possible. Seamlessly onboarding even the new Bharat population and making existing decision making better for more personalization and friendly pricing is the focus. Sky is truly the limit here. Quickly going over the proposed model training flow, highlighting two key components. First, the joint model training brings together insights from multiple parties. FIUs contribute their observed user behaviors and corresponding labels, while FIPs provide rich user variables, including aggregates or time series information. Both of these combine to create a comprehensive training dataset where both target variables and features come from different participants in the ecosystem. Second, we leverage AutoML to ensure interoperability. The pre-processing modules automatically handle different data types from FIPs, converting them into appropriate categorical or continuous variables. The AutoML algorithm then iteratively tests various frameworks pre-approved by the regulators and hyperparameters to find the best model for predicting target behaviors. An example here would be a bank or an NBFC being the FIU and sharing hashed user identifiers along with respective fraud and risk labels, where FIP could be a telco or a payments network or even a large bank with enough captured footprint to be able to add richer signals for model training. Deep diving on the training flow, this could happen in two ways. Operating on open source standards and model scores approved by the regulators, which then facilitate movement of only important inferences rather than sensitive base data. And second, for FIUs interested in deeper insights, one-on-one collaborations between FIUs and FIPs could help customize the output from FIPs for greater impact at the FIU end. This would require a data cleanroom setup powered by state-of-the-art privacy enhancing technologies like SMPC, homomorphic encryption, and so on to ensure only pre-approved intelligence flows both ways. Once live, the FIUs can relay back basic metadata to ensure freshness of the features and retrain the models in case of model drift. Here's a sample flow for consumption of these assessments. We have simulated all three entities and built these modified APIs on top of existing Rabbit APIs for FIUs, account aggregators, and FIPs with minor changes in their request bodies to accommodate new consent types to query data instead of share data. FIUs use the create consent API to generate a token for a user, specifying a purpose and the assessment models to whitelist with some optional parameters. For the user, it shows up as a consent form with all the FIPs listed, along with details on consent purpose, data items, insights to be extracted, and frequency of assessments. User can choose any of these FIPs and grant their consent. This triggers the validate consent API between AA and FIP, passing through all parameters received from the client app. As a result, FIP send authentication prompts to the user directly, and the client app validates the same. The consent artifact is now successfully created and shared with AA, including user accounts the consent is valid for, as well as the specific models that FIUs can run for this particular user. AA now generates a consent handle for the client that can be used to run assessments in the future, abiding by the defined consent parameters. Onto the insights flow. FIUs can now use the request insights API with the generated consent handle, passing along specific model IDs to run, model parameters, and data filters if any. FIUs get a session ID in response that can be used to fetch the final results. This triggers a compute request from account aggregator to the FIP on specific accounts with all the parameters shared by the client. The FIP can now fetch user data and run the specified model to calculate the required assessment of the user. This model inference is shared with account aggregator in response to the trigger compute API as model IDs that have run and their inference objects. These model results can now be accessed by FIUs through the access results API based on the session ID created before. The model inference is returned to FIU in the body of this API response. FIUs can now use this assessment to approve a credit line for the user based on alternate data or for any other use cases. Our vision extends beyond financial data to encompass the entire digital identity ecosystem through full-scale DEPA adoption. This creates wins for everyone involved. FIPs gain new monetization avenues while maintaining compliance. FIUs access richer insights to make smarter decisions, and users can finally harness their digital footprint for personalized products and better pricing. But there are challenges that we must address. We need to elevate data and privacy literacy among non-financial institutions. Data privacy is no joke, and ensuring the highest standards of data security and processing are being upheld would be critical. Second, we need to manage the computational demands of large-scale inferences. Creating the right incentive structures where custom training and then production level deployment of ML models in collaboration with FIPs would be essential for effective decentralization. Third, significantly shortening AI adoption cycles through standardized explainable frameworks pre-approved by the regulators, creating unique models and insights from all kinds of authenticated non-financial data would only add to the efficacy of the decision making powered through the AA framework. By solving these challenges, we are building a future where data truly works for everyone.